This video is sponsored by the fine folk over at SCD Keys. On this channel, we're always talking about saving money and getting great deals, and that's what you can do by picking up a $50 PlayStation Store card from SCD Keys. If you head over to their website, link is down below, and search for a $50 PlayStation Store card, you'll find it. Go ahead and add it to your card, and use our specialized promo code GC3 to save 3% on your order. That'll bring the cost of the card down to $46.64. You can check out and choose your method of payment. Your key will show up on your account, and boom, just like that, you got a $50 PSN card a little bit cheaper. Not only do they have great deals on PlayStation Store credit, they also have Windows 10 and other software heavily discounted, and you can get great deals on those as well. Again, check out the link to SCD Keys in the description box below. In today's video, we'll be talking about the possibility of a huge secret PlayStation exclusive that's in development right now based on a couple of hirings that Guerrilla Games made. Yes, the guys that brought out Horizon Zero Dawn. But if you remember, Guerrilla for a long time was famous for a different franchise, and it looks like they might be bringing that franchise back. We've been talking a lot about where Telltale Games is going to go with their closure. Is The Walking Dead, the final season, going to be completed? Well, yes, it is. A studio has picked it up, and The Walking Dead, the final season, will see its conclusion, which is great news. While we're coming up on the release of Call of Duty Black Ops 4, of course, 2019 will bring with it another Call of Duty game. This time around, it'll be coming from Infinity Ward, and based on job listings, it looks like that game is going to be coming to next-generation platforms, which is very interesting, because I think the general consensus among gamers is that next-gen platforms would be released in 2020, but why is this game suggesting that next-gen platforms will be released in 2019? That's definitely something to keep an eye on. Also, I want to take a look at some news with Marvel's Spider-Man. Push Square has some insight on how that game is doing from a trophy standpoint, and you guys might not think this lends a lot to the game itself, but it actually does. It shows how engaged players are to the game, and it has a very high rate of players that are platinuming the game, so I want to take a look at that. We've got a new sci-fi thriller announced for the PlayStation 4, and I want to round out this video by taking a look at some great deals on 2 JRPGs available right. Again, more on that at the end of this video. First, let's talk about Guerrilla Games possibly developing another Killzone game. I think the majority of us know that they're working on another Horizon game. I think that goes without saying just because of how well Horizon did from a commercial standpoint, being that it was a brand new IP. And for brand new IPs to resonate on that level, it's different from a game like Marvel's Spider-Man, because while that is in a sense a new franchise for the PlayStation 4, it's obviously based on Spider-Man, so it has that built-in recognition. With Horizon Zero Dawn, it was so new, it was so fresh, and it still did well from a commercial standpoint. However, Guerrilla Games actually made 2 very interesting hirings, namely the game director and game designer of Rainbow Six Siege, Simon LaRouche, and Chris Lee, respectively. Now, of course, these guys are not coming on board to bring their insight into Horizon 2. They're obviously going to be helping out with another first-person shooter, and what first-person shooter did Guerrilla Games work on? Of course, that is Killzone. We had a Killzone game on the PlayStation 4. It met the PlayStation 4 on launch, and that was Killzone Shadowfall, a game that I didn't enjoy quite as much as Killzone 2 and Killzone 3, but I was still all for Guerrilla Games keeping the Killzone franchise alive, because Horizon is such a unique franchise that you don't want to be releasing games like that super quickly. I don't think that's a franchise where you have Horizon, then you have Horizon 2 2 years later, then you have Horizon 3 2 years later. You need to let this franchise breathe a little bit, and I love what Naughty Dog does. They alternate between Uncharted and The Last of Us, and I think that's a great way to go. You want a high-tier studio to be alternating between games, creating fresh games at all times, and Guerrilla Games alternating between the release of Horizon games and Killzone games. I think that would be awesome. You actually let these games breathe a little bit, so you would have 4 to 5 years between each game, instead of each game being released 2 years from one another. At the very least, give them 3 years, and I think that's perfect. Now, it could very well be that Guerrilla Games is developing these 2 titles in parallel, because they are looking to add around 150 more developers to their studio. That's a big influx of new employees, and for all of those people to just work on one game, I think that is a little bit ambitious. I would imagine they would be split up in working on these specific games. You want those guys that worked on Horizon to be continuing to work on Horizon, and if you bring in new people and new employees like that, I think that would work the best. But I do foresee Guerrilla alternating between Horizon and Killzone releases, much like what Naughty Dog does. But that'll be an interesting story to see played out. I would imagine that the next Killzone would be a PlayStation 5 release. Usually it's a pretty good bet if a studio gets out 2 games within a console lifespan. Guerrilla got out Killzone 2 and Killzone 3 with the PS3. Guerrilla got out Shadowfall and Horizon Zero Dawn with the PS4. And I imagine that the next Killzone and the next Horizon will be PS5 titles, but that's just speculation on my part. So again, again, we'll see how that plays out. Moving on from that, a lot of worry has been surrounding Telltale Games. Of course, they have gone through a closure, and a lot has been made on whether or not The Walking Dead, the final season, will see its conclusion. It'd be a shame if it didn't, but thankfully it is. As Skybound Games tweeted out, quote, "We're so happy to announce that we've reached a deal with Telltale Games that will allow Skybound to continue The Walking Dead, the final season. Let's wrap up Clem's story right, more details to come soon." Skybound Games is a division of Skybound Entertainment dedicated to publishing unique and exceptional independently developed games, and now they are bringing out The Walking Dead, the final season. It's just great to see a studio did pick this up, because The Walking Dead was a game that resonated with so many gamers, and it's entirely story driven. Some of us have followed this entire story for over half a decade, and to see it abruptly come to an end before it having a definitive conclusion, that would be an absolute shame. Thanks to the guys over at Skybound Games, that will not be the case, and The Walking Dead, the final season, will see a legitimate conclusion. Moving on from that, since we talked about job listings with Guerrilla Games, Infinity Ward also has a very interesting job listing. They are, of course, working on the Call of Duty game for 2019, and their job listing states the following: "Come work with the game industry's brightest on an exciting, unannounced next-gen title." I imagine that next-gen title is referring to whatever Call of Duty game they are bringing out in 2019, and that would suggest that the next generation of consoles would come out in 2019. Now, it wouldn't be all too much of a shock if Infinity Ward's Call of Duty game was a cross-gen title, because remember, go back to 2013, Call of Duty Ghosts was a game that initially released on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and then when the PS4 was out, Call of Duty Ghosts was a launch title for that as well, so I could very well see a scenario like that. I'm very much surprised that we're getting all of these rumors of next-generation consoles being released next year. Maybe it'll be a case where all of these PlayStation 4 exclusives like Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, they have PS4 and PS5 versions, where the PS5 versions maybe look a little bit better. But now you're literally segmenting those games with 3 platforms, with the PS4, the PS4 Pro, and the PS5. I think that's a little bit crazy, but considering the fact that now we have this Infinity Ward rumor, there was the rumor with Rocksteady and their game being a PS5 title. Although with Rocksteady, there have been so many rumors circulating. But this one's directly from a job listing, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Again, we will keep you guys posted. Moving on from that, I want to make a quick little note about Marvel's Spider-Man, the PlayStation 4's biggest exclusive of the year, and it's a game that is keeping gamers rather engaged. If you actually look at the trophy listing for the game, 10% of people who played the game are going out of their way to platinuming the game. That's getting 100% of the trophies. Now, I do have to say, it's not like Marvel Spider-Man's trophies are super hard to get, traditionally speaking. The PlayStation 4 exclusive games have rather easy platinum trophies to get, but still 10% is a very high percentage. 1 out of 10 people going all in and doing everything that the game has to offer. Usually you don't see that. Usually you see a number closer to 5 or 6%. So 10% is actually a pretty high number. Unfortunately, I myself did not get the platinum, but it seems like a lot of you guys are super engaged with the game, and that is good to see. Moving on from that, we have a brand new sci-fi thriller announced for the PlayStation 4 in Observation. Observation is coming from the same developers that brought you Stories Untold, and the game itself puts players in control of Sam, an onboard AI of an Earth-orbiting facility. It's a pretty interesting game that I find it hard to sell myself, because it is a brand new IP and it is very unique, but the trailer was released. IGN has a pretty in-depth feature on it, so I'd recommend you to check that out, and I would recommend you to check out the trailer in its entirety as well.
Sam, try your camera system links. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Come on. Give me something. Houston, I'm trying to get Sam to respond, but I'm getting nothing back so far. Sam, are you there?
I am here.
Sam, what is that?
Lastly, I want to take a look at some great deals available at Best Buy right now. Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age, it's down to the same price that it was down to over on Amazon. However, because it's down to $49.99, if you do have your Gamers Club Unlocked subscription, you will save an additional 20% and you'll get it for $39.99, and that is a great price on DQ11, a fantastic JRPG. A game that I've talked a lot about, but if you like your traditional JRPGs with those traditional mechanics, that is what you'll find in DQ11. A lot of good to be had with this game. Great visual style, solid gameplay, a pretty good story. And speaking of great 2018 JRPGs, Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom is down to $20 flat at Target. This is a new copy of the game. I did recommend that GameFly deal. It was down to $17.99, but here you get it for $20 and it's brand new. And I believe it's the Day 1 edition. That's what Target has pictured. So that's quite good as well. I enjoyed Ni no Kuni 2 thoroughly. I've mentioned before, I didn't think it was quite as good as Wrath of the White Witch, but still for $20, fantastic deal on a great JRPG. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, it looks like Guerrilla Games is working on a a brand new Killzone game based on the fact that they did hire Simon LaRouche and Chris Lee. Again, those guys are the game director and game designer of Rainbow Six Siege, so it definitely makes a lot of sense that it's either Killzone or a brand new FPS IP. I think people would be really, really disappointed if it's a new IP because Killzone's a franchise that so many still have fond memories with. Personally speaking, Killzone 2 was one of my favorite PlayStation 3 games, and I would love to see that game be remastered, but that's an entirely different topic. Again, Skybound Games will be finishing up The Walking Dead, the final season, so that is great news. Infinity Ward's job listing does suggest Call of Duty 2019 coming to next-gen platforms. 1 out of 10 people are getting the Platinum Trophy in Marvel's Spider-Man. Observation, a brand new sci-fi thriller, is coming to the PlayStation 4, and great deals on DQ11 and Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom. We'll leave links to those in the description box down below. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.